Hi, sir. So good to see you.
Likewise, but I can't see you. I just see 320 and 020.
Okay.
घंटी बज गई. So hello Synergy. This is today is Sunday, November the 23rd, and special day. We have Namita and Nalin sir here, and Nalin sir will take us on the expedition, and Namita will give her special comments afterwards. But thank you, sir, for being here today. And I'm going to start with the introduction from Anurag, who is a very good friend and longtime friend. So Anurag is in a car right now going somewhere, but the recording is from April when we were originally going to have the session. And that was also from the car. So enjoy the intro and then we'll let Nalin sir take over.
तो तब से अनुराग कार में ही बैठा है क्या चाहे?
जब मुझे बोला गया कि नलिन सर के बारे में कुछ कहना है आपको, तो शायर का एक शेर याद आया कि यादें पुराने स्वेटर के धागों सी हैं, एक खींच भर जाए तो उधड़ती चली जाती है। नलिन सर जैसी शख्सियत, जितनी गहरी शख्सियत, मैं चाहता तो था कि भाखड़ा नंगल डैम के वहाँ से बनाऊं, क्योंकि उनकी शख्सियत कुछ इसी तरह की है। दिखने में बहुत ही उनके देखने से उनकी शख्सियत का अंदाज़ा करना मुश्किल होता है, बट बोलने के वो इतने मधुर हैं और उनके किस्से कहानी इतने ज़्यादा हैं कि न जाने कौन सी दौलत है तेरे लफ्ज़ों में, न जाने कौन सी दौलत है तेरे लफ्ज़ों में, बातें करते हो तो दिल खरीद लेते हो। तो उनके पूरे मेडिकल कॉलेज के पौंडीचेरी के जब मैं पौंडीचेरी के 5 बैच जूनियर से 5 बैच सीनियर के सबके वो हम फ्रेंड हैं। और उन्होंने फिजियोलॉजी में प्रोफेसर एम्स के रूप में जब ज्वाइन किया, उसके बाद उन्होंने इतनी टफ असाइनमेंट्स किए, चाहे वो एवरेज बेस कैंप पर जाके करना हो या अंटार्कटिका की इतनी सुदूर इतनी ठंड में फिजियोलॉजी के प्रैक्टिकल्स करने हो, एक्सपेरिमेंट्स करने हो फॉर गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एंड डिफेंस। और मतलब उनको एक बार में समझना बहुत मुश्किल होता है। जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि अच्छी किताबें और अच्छे लोग एक तुरंत समझ में नहीं आते, उन्हें ध्यान से कई बार पढ़ना होता है। तो वही हाल नलिन सर का है, बट उन्होंने अपने एफर्ट से, अपने जज्बातों से हर नामुमकिन बात को मुमकिन करके दिखाया है। तो इस पर एक शेर अर्ज है कि कोई नामुमकिन सी बात मुमकिन करके दिखा, खुद पहचान बना लेगा तो खुद पहचान देगा ज़माना तुझे, खुद पहचान लेगा ज़माना तुझे, तो भीड़ में भी अलग चल के दिखा। तो सर ने फिजियोलॉजी के सब्जेक्ट के साथ साथ इतने बढ़िया तरीके से उस ब्रांच को डाइवर्सिफाई करके अपने आप को प्रेजेंट किया कि आज वो एक रीजनल सेंटर के एक डीन हैं शिलोंग में। और उनकी शख्सियत को देख के ये नहीं पता चलता है कि वो कितने अंदर से मजबूत होंगे, बट मैं आप सबको बता दूं कि वो दिल्ली रग्बी क्लब के प्रेसिडेंट भी हैं। तो अब रग्बी जैसे खेल में के प्रेसिडेंट होना, तो बेचारे जितने पहलवान थे वो भी उनको मानते हैं वहाँ दिल्ली के। तो इसी पर संक्षेप में बस लास्ट में कहना चाहूँगा, क्योंकि इनकी इतनी बड़ी शख्सियत है कि कुछ कहानियाँ अक्सर अधूरी रह जाती हैं, कभी पन्ने कम पड़ जाते हैं, कभी शाही सूख जाती है। तो उनके बारे में सब कुछ कहना तो मेरे लिए मुमकिन नहीं है, बट इतने से छोटे जो इतना भी मेरा उनके साथ मुलाकात हुई है, और एक चीज़ के लिए मैं उन्हें हमेशा ज़िंदगी भर याद रखूँगा कि मेरे फादर जो अब नहीं रहे वो हमेशा मुझसे बोलते थे कि बेटा कभी सुख में शामिल ना हो बस दुख में ज़रूर होना. And Nalin and Amita were the only my friends who were there when my father passed away, and will not forget this thing till the end of my life. Thank you, sir. All the best for your future. Thank you.
Thank you, Anurag, for an intro. Wonderful. I think ये कुंभ मेले में गए थे ये लोग, और you can see he was very sleep deprived and tired, but he did a wonderful justice to your introduction. Thank you
I
again.
think he said far more things about me than I deserve, and people might start suspecting that I paid him for it.
नहीं सर, I'm sure इससे ज़्यादा ही कुछ होगा, but Anurag, if you want to add anything live, go ahead.
सर जो अपना पैक था सब पूरा करना. देखो मैंने अपना पैक पूरा कर दिया सर.
अब भैया तो गाड़ी ठीक से चला. We're missing him. Chalo, so what I'll do now? A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank
Hello,
you.
more people have joined, sir, and we will give them all a chance to ask you questions after the presentation. It's all
Definitely.
over to you now, officially.
Thank you. So first of all, thanks for inviting me. Sorry for having let you down in April, and Anurag has been on the road ever since, and that's what Bharat reckoned.
That's a good one.
So I'm Nalin Mehta, currently Director NIGRIMS in Shillong on deputation from AIMS New Delhi. That's my parent organization. And I had taken up a vow to hit Antarctica way back in 1981 when I joined MBBS. Because 1981 mein the Planning Commission had made a recce, and that is when it was decided that India would have a presence in Antarctica. And this was something I picked up on the news. There was no internet, there was nothing. So it came in the paper. S.Z. Qasim was the then chair Planning Commission member. And eventually I did manage to go to Antarctica. So my batchmate would always say, so moon is the next. But let's see. So far it's been Antarctica. I'll share my screen now, and just let me know if the entire screen is coming out in.
Yes, we are all
Right,
set.
so Terra Australis Incognita, which means land or the southern land unknown. This has a very interesting and romantic history. Way back, it was, in fact, this is what I want to do. I'll talk about this historical perspective, then introduce Antarctica, talk about the Indian and the personal experiences before I show a few interesting slides. And whenever you get bored, ask me to stop sharing the slides, and I'll talk about whatever you have to ask questions. So this was a map that was it's a Ptolemaic map. It goes back to Aristotelian days. Aristotle actually once said that because we have such a huge presence of land and ice in the North Pole, right up to the temperate regions, there must be a huge land in the south to balance this. And that was the Terra Australis Incognita, unknown. And if you see, it is spreading. If you can see the arrow of my mouse, is it visible? It is spreading right up to some of the temperate regions. Now, what started happening next was people discovered a few other continents like South America, South Africa, the whole Cape of Good Hope, and the Cape further some. So this land started shrinking. They said, okay, if the Cape lasts till here, then there must be something even below towards further south. Then Australia was discovered. So then they said, okay, Australia has been mapped, South Africa, South America. So there must be the Drake Passage near South America. There must be something further south. So this continent, which had been imagined in the 15th, 16th century maps, it was there, the Ptolemaic maps. So subsequently, it started shrinking. And eventually, it is James Cook has been ascribed or given a lot of credit because he circumnavigated the globe way back in 1772 to 75, 3 years. He crossed the Antarctic Circle without sighting the mainland. He was around 250 kilometers away. Then Bellingshausen and Michael Lazarev. So These were Russians. They were the first ones to see Antarctica way back in 1820. Then for about 75 years, nothing happened. There was a claimed landing in between by Davies, but eventually the first confirmed landing was in 1895 by a Norwegian team. The names are not yet known. Then Mawson, in whose name there is a station, David and Mackay, they reached the magnetic South Pole in 1909. Now, Antarctica has a geographic South Pole, which is opposite the North Pole, and a magnetic South Pole, which is a little distant. And Roald Amundsen was the first one to reach the geographic South Pole in 1911. And he beat Scott, a British, I think a Scotsman, a British chap, I'm not very sure, who eventually reached after him, but he died, he succumbed. So there are a lot of claims on Antarctica who saw it first, but it is the first and only truly discovered land. Others were all there with inhabitants. This was the first truly discovered land. And a lot of people claimed to have seen it, but it was eventually seen by Bellingshausen on the record, Lazarev and Bellingshausen. Another interesting thing, please remind me to tell you about the pie if I don't mention it. There are 26 superlatives about Antarctica. It is the driest, coldest, harshest, loneliest, highest land north of the sun.
Windiest.
Yeah, windiest. So it is north of the sun, south of the moon, west of the moon, and south of everything else on this planet. And in fact, there are some more apart from harsh. Then its size varies with seasons. Antarctica is twice the size of Australia. I have a diagram to show that. But in the winters, it becomes twice its own size. It's a very treasure trove. It's a treasure-filled trove. It has got tremendous amount of petroleum, gold, diamonds, minerals, but there is no mining allowed in Antarctica. The stations came up in the 20th century. India has one decommissioned and two present operative stations. The systematic exploration of Antarctica started in 57-58 with the International Geophysical Year. This is very, very important because the powers like America and Russia, despite the Cold War, they decided that decided in some 8-9, for example, meteorology, medicine, weather phenomenon, that there is a lot of information that they collect. They will share with the rest of the world. So the European countries, Russia, America, they would all share their data about weather and other important things which are relevant to humanity. The treaty was drafted and signed in 59, which does not allow any mining. So ice core drilling and a few tests are allowed, geology research, but there is no mining allowed. There are no arms and ammunition allowed. You can only carry a flare gun for direction, but there are no arms and ammunition allowed in Antarctica. And somewhere in the late 60s or 70s, they disallowed even huskies, sled dogs. So dogs are also not allowed because they were killing penguins. The permanent Indian base Dakshin Gangotri was established in 1981. It was the Prime Minister's dream. Indira Gandhi wanted a presence in Antarctica, and that's where the Planning Commission came in. Now, this is a map which is not very readable, but this is how Antarctica looks. This area is the peninsular region. This is the region which faces South Africa. Peninsular region is close to South America, Chile and Argentina being very close. So South America is around 1,000 or 1,200 miles from, 1,200 kilometers from the peninsular Antarctica. Here the temperatures can go up to +1, 2, 3, and they have a little moss and algae and some green plants. This region is close to South Africa, which is around 1,500 odd kilometers. Australia is this side, and that is around 2,500 kilometers. So 2,500, 2,000 and 1,500, this is roughly how far the nearest land masses are. The Drake Passage is here towards Chile and Argentina, so they can just go into Antarctica whenever they want. India has Dakshin Gangotri and Maitri station in the Queen Maud land. This is 70 degrees south, 11 east is Maitri. I'll show you the coordinate. And we have a new station that has come up in this region. The size of the huts show the number of people that live in our station. So Maitri had around 25 winter over personnel. This is what the entire continent looks during the summer and during the winter. So in summer, it is this big and much bigger during the winter. So the other thing is the ice surrounding Antarctica also freezes, so you can walk over it. Ships have a tough time making their. You only ice class 1 and icebreakers can go through to Antarctica. Dakshin Gangotri is 70 degrees south, 5 degrees, 5 minutes, and 12 degrees east, whereas Maitri was made very close, 11 degrees south. Bharti is 3,000 kilometers east of Maitri. It's located between Thatla Fjord and Quilty Bay near the Larsen Mountains, and that is 69 degrees south, 76 degrees east. Now that is 35 meters above sea level, so the ship can come and park very close to the station to unload. Whereas Dakshin Gangotri was on the shelf, the ship would come to India Bay, unload the material. Now it is used as a supply bay. Maitri was a little inland, so it was around 24 hours convoy from Dakshin Gangotri to Maitri, and Bharti is also very close to the ocean. This is what Dakshin Gangotri looked like from the sky, the aerial view, and this is what the station looked like when it was made within 2-3 years. But every year, 6 to 7 feet of snow would accumulate, and the station was slowly buried under the shelf ice. So today it is around 70 feet or maybe 80 feet below the ice. Only one chimney shaft is extended every year because you can go down. This station is decommissioned. If something goes wrong, there is going to be no insurance for whoever perishes there. But there are some articles at times that you might need from there. For example, one of our vehicles had gone bad. We needed to cannibalize it with parts, the piston bully. So the spares were in DG. We went down the shaft, picked it up. I'll show you that shaft in the images to come. So this is Dakshin Gangotri. This is an aerial view of Maitri. So this is the main station. The entry is from here. These are utilities. This is the galley and the toilet area and the BOD for waste. This Aditya Mercedes-Benz shaped show this is where we set up and the generator set. This was in 92, 93 in my expedition. And there is a glacier behind us and a lake in front of us that will probably be visible in some of the. This is the glacier behind Maitri station. So whenever you have to travel, the transport area is somewhere here. You have to go across like this for a few kilometers, then come onto the shelf from here and then go towards Dakshin Gangotri station, which is on the shelf. Where as the ship docks near Dakshin Gangotri, all the material is unloaded there. Nobody steals anything. It's like a railway platform. We sailed from Goa to Antarctica, which took us a month. But nowadays, the expeditions, they fly to South Africa. And from Cape Town, they go by ship to Bharti station and Maitri. The material is distributed in these two areas. This is a small greenhouse we have on this edge. And these are all individual cabins. And some of the cabins have blocks of wood outside. You can make out that is where we used to have small brackets where snow would accumulate, which would help us in the evening during. People still wanted ice or snow in their drinks. This is what the Bharti station looks like. The ship comes right up to here. The station is very close to the sea and it is frozen right now. So this is 3,000 kilometers away from Maitri station. So we sailed on the 5th of December 1992. This was MV Tuleland, our ice class 1 Swedish ship. The containers are all here loaded with all our equipment that we needed, and these are the 3 helipads. The helicopters were in the hold underneath. The journey was terrific. After we crossed the Kavarati Islands and the Lakshadweep, which were the last land masses, we started sailing through. It was called Roaring 40s, Furious 50s, and Screaming 60s. The ship would roll and pitch tremendously. There were a lot of people who were very sick, and the pitching would be terrific. When it pitched forward, the ice would come right up to the hem, even from the main where the captain stood on his watch. The entire windshield would be sprayed, and then slowly the ship would shudder back down onto normal sea line, and the water would be pumped out. The rolling, however, was 15-20 degrees, which would all the dining tables, etc., were chained to the floor in the room. Room furniture was also chained with locks on the floor. Thing would just roll off, entire thing. You have to be very careful. So once you reach Antarctica, the Polinia, the 60 degrees south, this is during the summer. So we have the austral summer. Unlike the North Pole, so October, November, December, Jan, Feb, this is the summer month. Whereas midwinter is 21st June. So from March, April onwards, the winter starts setting in. So during the summer, it is accessible. As the winter starts, you have to leave. The ships have to leave Antarctica. The ships have to leave Antarctica. Otherwise, even metallic ships like this, if they are caught in the Antarctic pack ice, and once the entire ocean starts freezing, the ship can get crushed. So it was not just the wooden ships. Even these ships can be crushed if they are stuck in Antarctica after March, April. This is the wake of the ship. This is what we used to leave behind. And we used to have whales or seals or penguins following us around everywhere. So this is India Bay. You get off at India Bay. You start your heli ops from the ship. That hepters would take undersling operations. Earlier it was banned during my time because we had lost one hepter. Undersling, you can carry 10 times the normal payload. The helicopters we had, these are smaller ones. The bigger ones were the Indian Air Force Me-8. I'll show you a photograph of those as well. That can carry 3 tons, 3 tons on board without auxiliary tank. But it can carry almost 5 to 10 times the load underslung. But underslung can create troubles at times. But now it is started again. This is undersling ops. This was Dakshin Gangotri in 1986. You can see almost till the top it is covered in snow. You can see the shaft. This chimney shaft is the one which we extended. This is the SATCOM dome for communication. In those days, please be mindful of the fact there was no internet. We only had Charlie Whiskey, continuous wave, high frequency, telex, and SATCOM domes for satellite communication. And we had a talk time of 3 minutes per month. So it was very, very difficult for a lot of people to not be able to talk to their families. I was single then. I used to give a lot of my talk time to people who were married and had children, wanted to speak with their families. In 92, when we reached the DG shaft, this was all that was seen. These are containers kept near India Bay. This is Brigadier Dharamveer Singh Rathi, who was an EME officer. He was the army contingent leader for logistics in our team. He is seen going down the shaft, and it was his team along with the Corps of Engineers who extended the shaft so that you could still. So this is like the chimney which you could still access DG. So from India Bay, convoys used to go in our piston bully carrying containers. We had dozers, we had fuel tanks, we had cranes. I'll show you the vehicles that we had. So these would, and also snowcats. So a convoy of 10, 12 vehicles carrying containers, carrying fuel, everything that we needed was with us there. From safety pins to helicopters, everything was taken to Antarctica. There's no local market where you can buy anything at all. So this is midnight Zulu time during the summer. Interesting thing is, if you have watches, like for example, right now it's showing 6:45 here. If you turned your watches upside down, the analog, it would show Antarctica time or Zulu time, with the exception that hour hand would be the minute hand to be taken as hour. So we had 2 watches, Indian Standard Time. One was hung upside down that showed the local time. This is what the crazy thing about Antarctica is it's a totally frozen continent. And I'll just rewind back a little. When we talk of the North Pole and the South Pole, the Earth is not exactly a sphere. It is dipping on the top. Where is the North Pole? North Pole is frozen sea surrounded by land on all sides. And this is what Aristotle had thought similar things should be there right till the temperate region in the south. But on the south, we have frozen land surrounded by sea on all sides. So the landmass dips a little more into the earth. So it is a little flatter than the rounded shape of the North Pole. The other thing is, it is called Arctic or Arctos. Arctos was named after the constellation, the Great Bear or Ursa Major. So Arctos in Latin means a bear. So anti-Arctus or Antarctic means no bear or opposite of the bear. So that's how the name came. So Arctus is so in this region, when the summer comes, there is a little bit of melting of the ice. So it can be slippery, the permafrost. And there are crevasses. You can have an entirely covered top and a small edge would show as maybe 1 or 6 inches wide or a 1 foot wide open wedge that you can see, or crevasse. But along the lips of the crevasse, it would be just 1 foot, but underneath it could be wide as maybe even a kilometer. So if you fall through those lips, you may or may not be found. For example, it is so close here, but when this falls away, the chasm below is terrible. Now, this is absolutely uncharted and unpredictable. Nobody knows what the road ahead would be. A few feet to your left, you may go down, a few feet to your right. So you have to make an idea in that white and light blue color, which is solid, which is not. And you can't be watching every minute and every mile. So people had to do this the tough way. And we did not have any accident during our convoys, and we had almost 1 to 2 convoys a month. So this is Maitri Station in 92. You can see the entire convoy coming down. It can't come any further south here because then you will slip down the glacier. So this would go like this. The route was like this, and then come towards the station. The transport area was here. The landmark that you see here in the Shirmachar ranges or the Shirmachar OSS 70 degrees south, 11 east, has a little bit of rocky terrain. And these are the summer huts. I will show you the summer camp. So the station can hold 25 people, and an equal number can be in summer huts. Each of these huts can take 4 people very comfortably. They are very well insulated. And even scientific huts and the mess hall was made out in this summer camp. So the people who come for a short duration in the summer, they live here. So this was my MI or medical inspection room. I had my own experiments on the immune status of human beings and a whole bunch of other things, sleep wake cycle analysis, the effect of magnetic storms on your ECGs and cardiovascular system, Holter monitoring right through. This was one portable X-ray machine, and my entire room, we had an OT, minor OT, anesthetic, a Boyle's apparatus. You had everything that you needed. Fortunately, except for the X-ray machine, we didn't use very much. Of course, suturing was done for a few people, but no major or minor other operation was undertaken. This is the boiler room where every 2 hours you have to check for the temperature, lest the water freezes in the entire station and then you're in trouble. This was a visit to the nearby Russian station, Novolazarevskaya. So the Indian station Maitri has, within 5 clicks east, we have the Russian station Novolazarevskaya. And Saturday, Sundays, either they would visit us or we would visit them. Here you see Dr. Slava. He was a dentist who was with the Russian team. And Yuri, one of their Met officers, who were just arguing after a game of table tennis. Now, the interesting thing is, if you see all the balls here, except for the cue ball, which is slightly less white, are white, unlike the normal snooker where we have colored balls. This is right in front of Maitri Station after a blizzard. The winter has not yet set in. This is the Met room. Before we step out for anything outdoors, we used to take temperature reading, wind reading, weather prediction, just about everything. That became a habit. The most important thing was to know what the weather is going to be before you stepped out. Otherwise, you could get into very serious trouble. This is Georg Foster hut, not George. It's called Georg. It's an East German station hut that was made in the middle of Queen Maud land. It is around 8-10 kilometers from Maitri Station, 15 from the Georg Foster and Novosibirsk. Now, this hut had a very interesting concept. It has got sleeping bags, it has got food, it has got fuel, it is fully loaded to help 4 or 5 people survive for a week, 10 days. It is not locked. Anybody can walk in there if you are in trouble. The only simple rule was keep it clean, carry the garbage that you've created out with you, and when you leave, replenish. So whenever we visited the German hut, we carried stores and supplies, frozen stuff, dehydrated stuff. Nothing goes bad in Antarctica. Even the fuel, we would stock it up and then leave. So whatever has been used there has to be replenished. This was on the way to the Russian station. We used to carry stuff for them. They would give us stuff to bring back. And this dangri is a winter dangri, which is visible from a distance. The temperatures in the summer are on an average of -5 to 10. The winters go down to -60, -70. The lowest recorded at Vostok station is -89. It was the coldest place on the planet. But once you're walking, you can walk around like this. If you are stationary, you have to cover up fully. On the way to the Russian station is this lake. This is actually frozen during the winters and totally water during the summers. But when you cross it in the time between December, Jan, and then you have to be a little careful because some areas might crack and you may go under. This was our galley where we used to cook. Oops. Yeah. We could cook for 100 people. There were huge utensils, a lot of supply. We had a good supply of gas cylinders, 400 cylinders out in the backyard. Pull a cylinder once the gas is over. There was no concept of money. Food was in surplus stock. This is my cabin where we could live a comfortable life. Temperatures were maintained to 22 to 25 degrees Celsius. After a hard day's work, a good wine was always, a Riesling was always the order of the day. Now, this gentleman was the leader of the Russian team in 92-93, Vladimir Fedorov. Now, the distinction of his presence there was around the time when we wintered, the 10th winter team, which is the 12th scientific expedition. He led a team, and Glasnost and Perestroika and everything hit Russia then, the CCCP or the USSR, and it broke into multiple factions. It affected his team because they had Garjoins, they had Ukrainians, so people from different areas. So there were a little bit of tension, but things moved. This is with Yuri and with Dr. Slava on the way to the Russian station. This was our 5-ton crane known as Hanuman. We had a 51 also known as Bhim. This is the Mi-8 Hepter. We used to call it Shane Punjab because Wing Commander A.S. Sidhu was one pilot and the other was Tamil Nadu Express by Wing Commander Shankaran. All the helipads were named after actresses. Madhuri and Sridevi were for Mi-8 and the smaller ones were Hema Malini and Juhi Chawla. These were the summer huts which could take in 4 people. They had a toilet as well. These were the mess room, big huts, and the National Physical Laboratories and the India Met Department huts. This is what happened after a blizzard. So this is a perfect day at Maitri, clear sky. This is in the summer. This is, I think, around 3 a.m. There was no activity early morning. This was the multiple option Dharmasthal at Maitri station. Every religion was served here and there was no discrimination. Everybody could come and pray as per their liking. This was the lounge inside, the only place where you could smoke because it is extremely a huge fire hazard. If something caught fire, it would burn. The oxygen was pure. I mean, the weather, Antarctic was absolutely pure oxygen, so to say, 21%. Very, very inflammable. This is the galley or the mess hall. The old generator sets, we made Aditya. This is the new gen set accommodation, the one in the bench shape that I showed you. This is the Aditya complex where 3 generators were installed and commissioned. This is the boiler room. Now the water from the lake, I'll show you that duct that comes from the lake would come to the station and it would be boiled. Otherwise, I mean, it would always be heated. Otherwise the trace, and even the duct had trace heating. Otherwise the pipe would freeze. This was library with audio cassettes, video cassettes, and books for all sorts of entertainment in Maitri station. Very important, our toilets were incendiary. They were used and all the refuse would collect in this storage area and then they were fired. The fuel used were aviation turbine fuel. And once it was reduced to pure ash, it was collected, stored in drums and brought back. So there was no, and we all had to do firing and cleaning of the toilets on rotation basis. Whether you was an army officer, doctor, engineer or scientist, everybody had to clean the galley, wash dishes, clean the toilets, etc. The transport area, we had piston pulleys with those, these are trailers which could carry. This is a 5 kl tank. Equipment could be carried. This is the source. During the summer, the lake, Zub Lake, in the original Antarctic maps, renamed by us as Priyadarshini Lake. There is a 9-meter submersible pump which gets water through this duct, and this duct is always heated so that it doesn't freeze. In the winter, the entire lake froze, but 9 meters deep would still be fuel. And during winter, we would park our vehicles on the lake. And during the EME Day, Eagles Day on 8th of October, there would be a vehicle parade on this particular lake. So in the winters, it would be like this, the same lake and the same duct from a different angle. This is a view of the Maitri station from the back, from the glacier top. This is a 50 KL fuel tank which we used to store just in case. After a blizzard, this is a snow clearing machine which used to get filled up from another angle. Then everything had to be cleaned inside and outside. This is a piston bully which had a little crane attached with it. Some would have box containers where people could sit. The indoors were not spared. One little crack and snow would ingress, and you have to clean that entire thing. This is the indoor cleaning. Very hard work it used to be. Sankalp was one camp which could maintain 8 people. This Sankalp, this trailer. Now this is being cleaned. This used to go for outstation duties. This has a communication antenna, and it could pull a trailer along with it. If you are stranded for 10-15 days, this had a toilet, it had a kitchenette, it had stores, just about everything. So this was called Sankalp, a very, very well maintained vehicle that we had. Ice core drilling was undertaken on the glacier. So evening, we did have rocks in our drinks, which were more than 50 million rows. We went down to almost 100 meters when ice core samples were taken for scientific experiments. This is what happened to one of our mates, frostbite. Fortunately, nothing had to be amputated. Very, very lucky. This is Sankalp, which had gone down in slightly, if you can make out, this is slightly light from a distance, which was not fully solid. The fuel tank is behind us. If this had been here, it would have gone down. Anyway, this was pulled out. We didn't lose Sankalp. Occasional issues were there where we needed Bhim or Hanuman to pull out our people in trouble. Fortunately, no permanent damage. We made a totem pole. I used to look like this. This is Havaldar Raman, carpenter by trade. And we made this for everybody wherever they were from. Pune, Goa, Amritsar, Dindigal, Bombay, Ambala. So we also celebrated Diwali, and a proper Jambunathan was a tradesman welder. Havaldar Navinder Singh, Anand Vallabh Joshi, and Swaran Singh Saab, these people were responsible for making Ravan, and then we eventually blew it up. These were guests who came into Maitri with their different kind of hectares, very unlike ours. You can see the summer camp here. This is the Priyadarshini or Zub Lake. These are the summer camp huts. They visited us because one of them had broken their hand and only we had the X-ray machine. So eventually, Captain Leander Marcus Ritchie was X-rayed, plaster was put, people signed, and not to miss the papad that he had at our station. The Caterpillar, which once, these are the vehicles that we use. This was the Mantis or Hanuman. Piston bully, this piston bully can take in either stores or humans. 8 people can sit in the back. Extremely sturdy vehicles. Then we had the Snowcat. This one was called Kaveri. All our vehicles had names and were assigned to one people per person. I had a Snowcat. I had a piston bully called Jhelum. I was supposed to maintain that along with the HMTs who were with us. And of course, the skidoos for local travel and sample collection, etc. So Maitri was very well designed. It was on stilts. If you're not on stilts, you'll get buried. So it was on stilts so that the wind and snow would egress. It had good laboratories, everything, but in the 90s, there was no internet. And communication, etc. was there. These were the various scientific activities that were carried out. I had around 8 projects for human physiology and psychology research. Then biology and oceanography. We had the ice core drilling and geological studies. Now, this is very interesting. There is the Nunatak, all small burgees and Nunataks that are available landmasses in Antarctica. Around Maitri, the entire Shivmachar oasis would be covered with snow in the winters, except this particular Nunatak, which was named Shivling. Shivling never got covered, despite there were times when it snowed for 8 to 9 days continuously. Everything would get covered, except for Shivling. So this people have a very strong. If you Google Shivling Nunatak near Maitri station, you will get this image. These are tabular icebergs, not to miss the yellow mess here. These are all a penguin rookery, and all the yellow stuff that you see is exactly what you imagine it to be. You cannot sit near a rookery. If you go within 10 kilometers, you can get the stench of the penguin poop. This is the moon over the glacier behind Maitri. Ice caves. You have to be very careful during the summers if you enter the cave, which part will collapse from above or below, not very, very clear. But the cave would have sunlight coming in through the walls. Absolutely surreal. This is dusk at the base at Maitri. These are solar pillars. You can make out strange weather phenomenon could be recorded. This is a sunbeam like Mackinac gold. One area is totally covered, the rest is all dark. The sun rays through the clouds. This is a solar halo. You can see the sun and the halo totally around. These are fawn winds. Whenever there is warm winds that come down on the leeward side, it is slightly warm, and like the in the movie sequence, you have the smoke. This was dawn, and this is dusk. I could say it the other way also. Nobody would have any questions, but this is how it used to be. Sunset near Maitri, scattering sun rays. When you throw, this is sublimation. When you throw boiling water, it will suddenly become ice particles and fall. So this kind of fun we used to have off and on. This is the DG Glacier. Now everybody's been writing about the northern lights, which are the aurora borealis. We had the southern lights. This photograph is by K.S. Hosalikar, who was an IGF man. He took a beautiful photograph of the auroras, undulating lightning in extremely slow motion. They would last 30 to 40 minutes and change colors also. So this was the aurora over Maitri station. This is a comet cloud formation. Now Antarctica has a summer population of around now maybe 3 to 5,000 people. There are also visitors who go there for a day or two or longer. They can go to the shelf, mostly near Chile and Argentina, Chile, and they camp on the continent, on the peninsula, and go back. But the winter population is around 800 to 1,000. There are no inhabitants, no regular birds and algae found, except birds and algae are found in the peninsular region, but nothing else into the rest of it except during the summer. So the penguins, skuas, etc. would come in only during the summer. This is the albatross, which we saw on the way when we sailed into Antarctica, the bird with the maximum wingspan. They would follow the ship. This is a skua sitting on the summer hut. Mostly they would come in pairs. You can see the webbed feet and the vulture-like beak. They are predatory birds. Two of them will attack a human being also. They don't know humans. So when you're wearing your dangri, you're like any other penguin. Two of them can kill a penguin, even a king penguin. So you have to be, we would always venture out in buddies, in teams, be very careful of the skua. They would attack. This is what they did to an albatross. And this desiccated thing will remain for centuries. This is our equipment lying around, and the skua would come to investigate what it was. This is a skua chick when it looks very cute and is probably vulnerable only then. These are crab-eater seals. I'll quickly go through this. Leopard seals are always found alone. You have to be very careful. They are predatory, will attack. These are elephant seals near the Bharti station. You have a lot because the ocean is very close. They'll be basking in the sun. Very noisy, very stinky. This is the fern seal, southern fur seal. This photograph is from a friend of mine. So is this, the Weddell seal. The Weddell Sea was one which was initially in the history of Antarctic exploration. And these seals were hunted and a lot of money made out of those. Again, the elephant seal and cub. These are snow petrels. Any kind of weather they can withstand. So the Wilson storm petrel has been mentioned even in the Bible. They are very comfortable in the Antarctic weather, but in the winters they also leave Antarctica. Every animal leaves Antarctica in the winter. These are the petrels. They are in seal territory. You can see a seal. They fish around these areas and at times try to attack the seals, but they can't. This is a giant Antarctic petrel with a little one. This is in the evening. Adelie penguin, the most common penguin, the one that used to come even to the Maitri station. We had to rescue a few during the summer with hepters back to the ocean. They're around 2.5, 3 feet. They're very, very small. I'll show you in perspective. They received us when the ship would come to the shelf, the penguins would come close. And they could either walk, waddle, or toboggan on their tummies, where they could pick up quite a lot of speed. This is the size of an Adelie penguin. And whenever they got stranded, towards February, coming into March, we would take them and drop them because the hepters also would go with the ship after that. Any penguin that got stranded after March would not survive. This is a penguin rookery, a stinky place. You have to have a lot of courage to go there. This is an aerial view of the rookery. You cannot overfly a rookery, it is banned, so you have to go from a side. This is a photo taken with a zoom. These are penguins heading back home. King penguins, they also reach Antarctica. Now they're in trouble. In fact, in the news nowadays, since that Antarctica is warming up, their habitation is getting into trouble, serious trouble. They are endangered now. A rookery of king penguins. These are chin strap penguins, that helmet strap very easily visible. These are the chicks. The chicks look much bigger till they shed their baby fur and then they come back to normal size. This is a Gentoo penguin. Since there are rookeries, they have rocks, they lay their eggs in rocks, they collect the rocks to woo a female and then they make their nest and then they lay their eggs. Very interesting lifestyle they have. The Gentoo chicks. This is a whale. The whale found in Antarctica is the minke whale. So this was from the ship. You can see this in the passage that has been made. You can see the glimpse. The whale is right here. And a seal on this side. This photograph is not mine. This is from another expeditioner. This is probably not even near the Antarctic Ocean because the killer whale is not very easily visible in that part. So I just brought it here for the Willy. Now the question is, who owns Antarctica? The answer to it is nobody or everybody. If you can afford to go build a station there, you can go and stay there. To build a station there requires a lot of resources to reach there and then to maintain. Antarctic stations run 24/7, 365 on electricity power generated by your own self. So you need fuel. The only fuel we used was air turbine fuel for our helicopters, for our vehicles, for the toilets, for the boiler room, just about everything. And LPG cylinders we carried for cooking. Thank you all so much for your patient hearing. I think I've overshot my time, but I'm ready for questions now.
Wonderful, sir.
Oh my God, what a
रहेंगे.
unbelievable. मतलब ऐसा लग रहा है कि ये चीज हमको अभी तक कैसे नहीं पता थी नलिन सर कि आप ना मतलब फ्रॉम अंटार्कटिका टू नेपाल का कहाँ थे आप लोग which city? Dharan. Yeah, from Antarctica to Dharan. Unbelievable. My goodness. And now Shillong. So you guys are मजा आ गया सुन के. मतलब आपने कितना समय बिताया सर वहाँ?
1.5 years. I was there from December 92 to April 94, but we had an accident with our ship. So we were there till late April. Then we limped into dry dock in South Africa. And we left South Africa in April. The first Indian flight, Air India had started operations in 94 after the apartheid was over. So it was a very historical flight that we took back. Otherwise, the ship was left in dry dock in South Africa.
Wow. Sir, मैं अपनी questions बाद में पूछूंगी like a good hostess. But Namita came when I just want to know आपका right after the expedition आप इतने lonely हो गए होंगे कि Namita
I came back in 94.
We met in 96.
And we got married in 96. Then I was in Nepal.
Wow, amazing. Everyone.
शादी के बहुत समय तक तो आपको किस्से ही सुनाते रहते होंगे नमिता ये सर कि
Yes.
My goodness, unbelievable. Sir, is it true that these days it takes around 15 to 20 lakhs for a trip per person?
There are multiple tourism agencies who take you out from anywhere from 10 to maybe 1 crore also. Luxury liners, depends. But yes, Antarctic now is opening up to tourists. But 10-15 lakh, maybe a little less now, depending on the number of people there are.
Rajesh, you got your answer? Rajesh,
and what are the visa requirements?
अंटार्कटिका में घुसने के लिए वीजा नहीं चाहिए. अगर आप चिले से जा रहे हो या अर्जेंटीना से जा रहे हो, ब्यूनोस आयरेस या उरुग्वे से जा रहे हो या साउथ अफ्रीका, तो वहां पहुंच जाओ, वहां से दे विल टेक यू. अंटार्कटिका में कोई इमिग्रेशन नहीं है, वहां पे कोई है ही नहीं ना. इट डजंट बिलोंग टू एनीबॉडी. इफ यू कैन अफोर्ड इट, यू गो देयर, अपना घर बनाओ, रहो.
इतना आसान है.
As simple as
कुछ ideas आ रहे हैं. राजेश को आइडियाज आ रहे हैं.
Excellent talk, Nalin sir. I was waiting to listen to this talk for last 15 years, I think. I
अरे
asked
देखो,
about this to you
शिलोंग आप
15
लोग
साल
प्रोग्राम
पहले.
बनाओ, शिलोंग आओ तो आई विल डू अ स्लाइड शो एंड अ चैट. आ
अरे
जाओ,
अभी अंटार्कटिका में ही करते हैं ना सर, शिलोंग में कहाँ?
वो भी कर
हाँ,
सकते
वो
हैं.
भी कर सकते हैं.
नहीं, आई थिंक वी आर रियली इंस्पायर्ड बाय योर टॉक. अभी हम
MGM
ये सब तो
1985 reunion, 50th reunion in
इन
Antarctica.
अंटार्कटिका. यस.
एक्चुअली
Please
तो सर, इज इट
feel
वर्क?
free to raise your hand. हम लोग थोड़े loud हैं लोग 1985 के, but Mr. गोयल भी है यहाँ पे हमारे साथ. आप किसी को भी question पूछना है तो please raise hand. We'll go first, come first, sir.
Actually, the current expeditions, I went in 92 to 94, those were olden days. ना इंटरनेट था, ना कुछ, ना डिजिटल कैमरास थे, ना कुछ. तो वी वर वेरी वेरी केयरफुल विद द नंबर ऑफ रोल्स वी टुक विद अस. हमारी ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट फोटोग्राफ भी हैं जो हमने वहीं डेवलप की थी. सम रोल्स वी ब्रॉट बैक, कुछ खराब हुए, कुछ अच्छे निकले. So we had those issues, but now it's all 5-star expeditions and people have internet connectivity. रोज वीडियो कॉल होता है. People have tremendous amount of. I have some photographs from friends, but that's for another day.
बट सर, इज इट वर्थ गोइंग देयर एज अ टूरिस्ट? एंड
It is, see, the place is unbelievable. If you've been to the North Pole, you've seen ice and snow. पर वो होता है लोगों को टिक करना है. It's very very similar because once it is frozen, whether it is sea or land, you are on. But then seeing penguins right in front of you, seals, so that is something which is absolutely breathtaking. It is something worth doing, no doubt.
द बेस्ट मंथ टू विजिट?
Any time of year because it is frozen right through. Convenience
No,
would be
but
during the summer of anywhere in, let's say, November, December. If you go to South America or South Africa, and from there, if you are taken up, those months are a little less harsh, and the weather phenomenon are also not terrible. In the middle of winters, it becomes dark. For example, at 70 degrees south, so I had around 3 odd months of dawn, 3 odd months of day, 3 odd months of dusk, and 3 odd months of total darkness. You would want to go there when it is well lit.
Okay, so November, December, January. That is the yeah. And any particular place from where you should go, because you have named so many places, na? Argentina, Chile,
Argentina is
Uruguay. But
fantastic.
what would you recommend?
And Argentina and South America has a lot of tourists going from there. US also conducts their tours. वो लोग अब आजकल तो कहीं भी क्रूज चला जाता है. But South Africa and Australia also offer good packages. The closest and the cheapest would be from South America.
Okay.
But you will have to do a little research on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Chile is nearest है, and they are taking
Yeah.
even now the directly आपको सीधे ship पे भी नहीं जाना हो तो आपको directly वो one way ले जाते हैं,
Yeah,
flight से ले
take a
जाते हैं.
flight.
वहां पे तो there are airports also. In fact, we had an airport near Maitri. Novolazarevsk Russian planes used to land there because in the 9th we lost 4 people. So we had to keep them in the station in the deep freezers for a few months before the Russian plane left. और वो एयरपोर्ट तैयार कर मतलब कि रनवे तैयार करना पड़ता था. उसको स्क्रैप करके रिजेस बनानी पड़ती थी so that it could hold the plane rather than the plane going for 20 kilometers slip कर जाए. फ्रिक्शन तो था नहीं. But they have some very good runways close to the Antarctic Peninsula station.
So it looks like Anurag and Shirish have already done research. Shirish ने भी chat में डाला
Yeah,
है.
Shirish has shared some details Argentina से. No,
देखो
in fact, one of my colleagues, anesthetist, he's also very fond of traveling. He just went last year. So I think 10 lakhs or something, and he took the cruise, which was like a luxury, this thing.
So sir, नमिता के
वो-
साथ एक बार जाके देखना पड़ेगा. How do you feel? How is it different there with having spouse by the side?
हाँ, तो फिर सुनना पड़ेगा ना कोलंबस बेचारे ने कैसे डिस्कवर किया. बीवी नहीं थी उसकी.
एक क्वेश्चन आया है कि इज इट पॉसिबल टू विजिट दीज इंडियन स्टेशंस. दैट वुड नॉट बी पॉसिबल बिकॉज इंडियन स्टेशन में यू कैन गो देयर आइदर इफ यू वॉलंटियर एज अ डॉक्टर. सर्जन्स आर वेलकम टू वॉलंटियर. ऑर्थोपेडिक सर्जन्स, even physicians, anybody can volunteer to be a doctor for the team. Otherwise, they don't take tourists.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much, sir.
So Rajesh, this is a good thing here. Why don't you volunteer as a surgeon and just go?
Yeah, let's see. Yes.
Actually, the
So,
Antarctic Study Center is in Goa. तो वहां से
okay.
एडवर्टाइजमेंट आता है पेपर में नाउ बिकॉज इंडिया हैज 2 फंक्शनल स्टेशन मैत्री एंड भारती तो दोनों के लिए वहां पे यू हैव अ समर एंड द विंटर एक्सपीडिशन डॉक्टर्स आर रिक्वायर्ड फॉर बोथ
चलो, so next
Okay.
time Rajesh
Let's
will win.
try. Let's try. Yes, yes.
सर और कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछ रहा है तो आई जस्ट आस्क यू क्विकली आपने एक बोला था कि रिमाइंड मी ऑफ पाई और फाइव
हाँ पाई पाई अच्छा टेल यू हुआ ये अंटार्कटिक में जब स्टेशन बनने लगे इनिशियली तो पीपल वर वरीड कि यार अंटार्कटिका इज सच अ ट्रेजर ट्रोव इस पे तो हमारा हक होना चाहिए तो हम जाके अपना झंडा गाड़ दें तो लोगों ने वहां पे स्टेशन बनाना शुरू किया सो द Amundsen, Scott Amundsen station is right on the geographic north pole. तो अगर वहां पे है ना तो सारी डिग्री लैटिट्यूड हाँ द geographic साउथ पोल तो वहां से ऑल द लॉन्गिट्यूड आर कवर्ड तो दे कैन 0 to 360 पूरा कवर है तो बोलेंगे हमारा है रशिया ने क्या किया दे मेड मिर्नी वॉस्टॉक इज ऑन द मैग्नेटिक साउथ पोल लाजारेव्स्किया इज इन क्वीन मॉड लैंड 70 degrees then they made Mirny Lazarev and a host of other stations. Bellinghausen, they made multiple stations around north, east, west, south. तो वो पाइप में जहां भी आप काटेंगे एक रशियन स्टेशन मिलेगा. So now, initially China did not participate in the International Geophysical Year. They had some issues of Taiwan participating, so they backed out. But now they also have 2-3 stations. India has 3 stations, 2 functional. So I think we are one of the very few. 14 countries may have more than 1 station. Japan has a station there. And Chile and Antarctic Argentina are close to the peninsula, so if they want, they can go every day and come back. So that was how the district. But even today, you can't own part. You can go make your station anywhere. And बिना गंद की Antarctic Treaty of Nations के rules regulations हैं garbage disposal ये वो सब करें. And you can
so
go.
one
and
place free
inspection
of violence नहीं है वहाँ पे.
पहले तो बहुत था अब नहीं है.
अच्छा. Wow, different kind of violence. तो सर आपने बताया everyone wants a piece of the pie ना वहाँ पे पर आपकी जो वहाँ पे experiments में how did you handle physical, spiritual, mental sanity during the physiologic all that होता था क्या कुछ वहाँ पे upset?
Yeah, we are all human. See, the one thing is, it is extremely lonely, no matter what. So the government did everything to provide us with good facilities for entertainment. ये वो सब कुछ था. Then there were instances, I remember, without any names, there were 1 or 2 tradesmen from the Indian Army जिनके घर में tragedy हुई, and they could not do anything sitting here. So those required counseling. So companionship, counseling, looking after each other, irrespective of how big or how small you were, how strong or how weak you were. Mental fitness is a different thing. So we used to have on a daily basis team meeting, interactions, movies भी हम दिखाते थे, cultural programs भी हम करते थे. Everybody would speak about themselves or their families, वो fortnightly, those kind of things. And then Russians would come visiting. We would make sure that by rotation, our members also visited the Russian station. So keep people occupied. फिर हमारा हर संडे को श्रमदान होता था स्टेशन के सराउंडिंग एरिया को क्लीन करने का. कुछ मिलता नहीं था, कभी कदा कोई माचिस की डिब्बी या कोई पैकेट वैकेट मिल गया तो ठीक है, अदरवाइज these were things we kept ourselves occupied. People did get into a bit of a spot, but sorted out. Fortunately, there were no health-related problems, with the exception of one person who had very severe chilblains and frostbite. To the extent कि वो मेरे को तो लग रहा था वो फोटोग्राफ में बहुत ग्रूसम लग रहा है. The demarcation could be seen कि ये तो 4 उंगलियां कटेंगी, but हुई नहीं.
Amazing. मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है Chicago is a breeze now after seeing Antarctica. अब जब यहाँ snow आएगा तो it's nothing. Oh my God, amazing. और सर bears क्यों नहीं है वहाँ पे?
There is no. Antarctica is absolutely not inhabitable. वहाँ पे ना खाना पीना मिलता है, ना कुछ लोकल कुछ है ही नहीं. There is no life in Antarctica.
That's right. The quiz that छोटा सा land, they said land animal in Antarctica is less than 10 millimeters or something. So that's not survivable. They'll need
all kind of a thing. There is something in the peninsular region. In the rest of the continent, you get nothing. and it is impossible to survive. Even the animals जैसे स्कुआ and penguin ये जो दिखते हैं near the shelf, अब ये सब हमको दिखे एडिली, मैत्री स्टेशन इज अराउंड 90 क्लिक्स फ्रॉम द शेल्फ, तो इतने तो ये लोग आ जाते हैं इनलैंड, फिर भाग जाते हैं टुवर्ड द ओशन. इफ दे गेट स्ट्रैंडेड वी ड्रॉप देम ऑफ, बट इन द विंटर इवन दे लीव. इन द विंटर देयर इज नोबडी देयर, ओनली ह्यूमंस एंड दोज आल्सो. आपको अपना ही सब कुछ लाना करना है, वहां पे कुछ नहीं है.
अमेजिंग. नाम बड़े अच्छे थे सब स्टेशंस के, और रावण, दैट वाज अमेजिंग.
Every station in Antarctica has the call sign of a ship. जैसे हमारा Mike Alpha was Maitri Antarctica. So whenever Novorossiysk would call us, the Russians would call Maitri, 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 eta Novo, that this is Novo. Kak Punil Priyo means, do you hear me? So that communication, and Novorossiysk is also registered as a ship. All the stations are registered as ships, because in case something happens and you send an SOS, you may have a rescue. So like the ships in the ocean, everybody has a call sign and they know each other's presence. Nearby stations के साथ there are no लड़ाई झगड़ा, there is total cooperation. They had trouble, we had to go sort them out. Medical issues वहाँ पे हुए थे कुछ, and including one attempted suicide with morphine because of bad news from home. There was a gentleman who was wintering for the second time, who was looking after their health issues. He himself attempted suicide when he lost his mother. He had wintered 4-5 years earlier also, sometime in 86, when he had lost his father. So he blamed himself for leaving St. Petersburg कि भाई ऐसा हो गया. अब भाई ने morphine ठोक ली, and I was called there. It was with great difficulty that we had to, Nalorphin and all was देखने में, Russian labeling translated. Somehow he got salvaged. Otherwise, it used to be you can do very little there. Lot of people who go to Antarctica appendectomy करवा लेते हैं, wisdom tooth extract करवा लेते हैं. Dental issues are probably the biggest. अगर tooth है वो you can do nothing.
That's true. That's true. Amazing. Anyone has any other questions? Otherwise मैं नमिता से 2 मिनट बुलवाना चाहती थी about not Antarctica but generally spending life with such an adventurous, amazing.
देखो जी, यहाँ से तो दूर लग रहा है आपको सचिन है. Whenever there is an issue, I tell her my insanity I can attribute to Antarctic Expedition, so she forgives.
That's a good one.
Over to Namita.
No, Antarctica way after, but yeah, since we like the day we got married, we settled in Dharan in the eastern region of Nepal. So it was like the new couple starting their life there. Then from there we moved back to Delhi, Ames. Then from there we went to Canada in between for 2 years, where he did his masters in bioethics. So with the kids in between and everything. So
a lot has happened.
Yeah, a lot has happened. But the kids have also been like that since they were very small. We would any long weekend. So Delhi, say you have a lot of places around to go visit. So we would just pack them in the car and just leave. So that's how we covered a lot of places in Rajasthan, UP, Haryana, close by to Delhi. So I think that's been our motto. The best education is by traveling. You take them to different places and let them experience the whole thing. ये नहीं कि वहां जाके मैकडोनल्ड खाना है, वहां जाके वहीं का खाना खाना है.
Yeah, they enjoy the Northeast. When we went to Mauritius, they had lovely time with the local cuisine. Namita is a vegetarian, of course.
But I do get something. Then we even when we came here, for me this was the like in 21 when Nalin got posted here. This was the first time for me to come towards Northeast, and that's a part of India. Except we had visited Sikkim as in 2014. So yeah, Northeast was a eye opener totally. And amazing people and amazing everything is like very different. The mainland, like you are in the north. Yeah, so it's an open invitation. I've always been
How long are you there, sir? Abhi aur kitne time hai?
I have been here for a little over 4 years. I have another year to go.
Yeah.
Oh, so we have 1 year. Okay.
Yes.
But so what a nice thing, Namita, you summarized that you have to be so resilient. You have to be so ready for these kind of adventures, right? Like not easy. Stability or वो सब जो देखते हैं बच्चों के लिए.
But she's given and done a lot to this entire family. This entire expedition has been thanks to her. Post Antarctic has been a big expedition for us. and we don't
सर
forget the
एक
sacrifice.
लाइन याद आती है कि behind every successful man there is a woman, but behind every successful woman a man is a smiling woman. Smiling woman जरूरी है, तो नमिता is
अरे
that.
इसको तो आदमी भी इतना सक्सेसफुल नहीं मिला.
नहीं I think सर बहुत अच्छा, good team and keep doing the great work for country and everyone else also.
Actually, that is one big support. You mentioned the smile ho na ho ki baat alag hai, but whenever I have picked up a bag and left, wherever, without even figuring out whether it's gone for a week or 10 days or a month, she has held fort and managed absolutely brilliantly.
हाँ, और हम लोग
Not
ने कभी कंप्लेन नहीं सुनी सर आपकी, तो
कभी.
that says a lot.
So whenever I moved out, मैं चला जाता था कभी-कभी महीने 2 महीने. She's handled.
Namita, time to pat your back. हमारी तरफ से भी.
Tremendous. Not
Thank you, Chaya, and thank you, Chaya, for like I have been very irregular with my travel and all that, but yeah, like this initiative which you have started, and you take out the time and pain, and today also you like on a winter morning, Sunday morning, you have woken up so early.
Absolutely,
So-
my pleasure. This is something that helps me keep going. So wonderful. And sir, ये अनुराग श्रीवास्तव हमारे junior batch का है. वो भी बड़ा travel में interested रहता है. He is a psychiatrist. He just joined. So hello Anurag.
हेलो सर. हेलो खैरी.
Hello.
सॉरी मेरा वो प्रेजेंटेशन अधिकांश मिस हो गया. वो हमारे बैच का एक रियूनियन है, तो उसका एक मीटिंग चल रहा था उसमें, तो सॉरी अबाउट दैट. बट प्लेजर टू मीट यू, प्लेजर टू हियर फ्रॉम यू.
हाँ, अंटार्कटिका में है अनुराग, हम लोग का 50th ईयर. तो मैं घंटी बजा के
सुपर फाइनल फ्रंटियर है तो अंटार्कटिका तो ब्यूटीफुल.
So I'll stop the recording.